not guaranteed that we're going to get this moment again. And people spend a lot of time in the past or in the future.
Yeah.
And the work to become really present, really still, really calm, really connected is the best work that you can do for yourselves. And so whether that's through somatic practices, meditation, working with a coach, therapy, whatever that is for you. Again,
reading the book you mentioned in the beginning.
Reading the book, The Precious Present. I'm reading a book right now. I'm actually doing a book study with my VA team. It's called The Power of Unwavering Focus by Dandapani, something like that. And that's what to remember. Have nothing left unsaid.
Welcome to the Coachability Code podcast. This is your host, Jordan Ring. Coaches, you ready to be coached? Let's go.
All right, everyone. I am super excited for today's guests on this podcast. Stacey's with me here today. I'm super excited to dig into some of these concepts with her. Stacey, if you could just introduce yourself and what you do briefly, and we'll dive into it more later, and then I'll ask you some other questions and we can go from there.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jordan. So my name is Stacey Gonzales. I am an intuitive transformational coach and a marketing strategist, marketing and branding, personal branding strategist. So a little bit best of both worlds, I think.
Yeah, I love that mix. And I already was thinking of questions, but we'll get there. Let me just ask you some of the questions I like to ask people when they first jump in. Favorite book, favorite movie, and weird thing about you. And if you want to do favorite book and favorite movie as it relates to our topic of discussion, fine. If you want to take it another angle, that's fine as well.
Okay, beautiful. So the movie that's coming up for me is the Disney movie Inside Out. And that's because
my favorite. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies.
Our inner worlds are complicated, right? And so that movie does a beautiful job of painting a picture of the complexities of an inner world as a human evolves and grows, right? Inside Out. And then the book that's coming to me is by Spencer Johnson. It's called The Precious Present. And it's an older book. It's a short book. It's almost like the kind of a book you give as a gift. I have given it as gifts, and it's an allegory. And it's about a young man who meets an old man searching for this external, give me the secret of life, right? All the good things in life. And it's really about, guessed it, living in the present. The precious present is the best gift that we could ever have for ourselves. So favorite book, favorite movie. And then weird thing about you, I don't know if this is weird or not, but I think that there's, I'm good at doing hard things. So I've run marathons, hard thing. I have had a home birth with my second child, hard thing.
Yep.
And built my own business. And out of those three, building my own business has been the hardest. Second hardest was having a home birth, because women's bodies have been doing this for millennia, and that I knew it was going to happen or not. But running a marathon, that is a mental feat, and it's all here. So I would say those are maybe some, I don't know if those are weird or not, but some things about me.
No, that's cool. I love that. I love that spin, the hard things and the tough accomplishments, because all three of those are difficult. And I especially resonate with I've not run a marathon myself. Obviously, I've not given a home birth, but I've been working on growing my business for many years. And it's difficult. It's difficult to do something and strive on your own. And we'll dive into that more too. I have a question later about that. But okay, so thank you for that. If someone asks you and they come up to you and say, hey, Stacey, what do you do? How do you answer that how do you answer that in general? And then if people have follow-up questions, how do you answer those as well?
What I do is I see people deeply. I have a deep sense of who a person is. And it's always this really beautiful aspect that I can see around their essence. And so finding ways to draw that out and help them see that. One of the things I often tell clients is it's hard to read the label on your own jar, right? And so what do?
Yeah. I love that.
When I'm in one-on-one, I see you deeply and I help you surface the pieces of yourself that maybe you either haven't looked at in a while, you're not familiar with, or you're not sure how to position yourself in the marketplace of ideas around. I'm a community builder. I'm also great in groups and with groups of people. So I also run some communities. So that's a little bit how I answer, but I'm really first 5 minutes with somebody, it's just really kind of like, let's connect and see what
Yeah.
naturally rises to the surface.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So if someone was maybe thinking about working with you, what are some of the things that they would be looking for help with, or what brings them to you? Like, do they have specific problems, or are they like, I want to do that XYZ, and you're like, cool, perfect fit? Or does it range, or what are those type of things that bring people to you?
Yeah, people come to me usually in like three different places. One is they're not really sure what's next. They have a body of work, they have professional expertise, they have acumen, and they want to do some sort of coaching consulting. They're probably still in a 9 to 5,
Hmm.
and they want some wraparound support to really explore how can I confidently step away from and step into what's next for me. So
Yeah.
that's like our coaching container. And then I have clients who come to me that already have been in either their coaching or consulting business, and they are ready to position themselves as a thought leader. So they come
Mm.
to me and they say, how do I tell my story? How do I position myself? How do I attract aligned opportunities? And that's where I do some personal branding, lead gen, that type of work. It's the marketing piece.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like, even how you just described that, it sounds so similar to what I do in the book ghostwriting specifically, but it is really is like what people are looking. They're looking to become thought leaders. Like, how do they position themselves? There's so much of that marketing work that I think expands into a lot of coaching areas, would you say?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right, coaching techniques, skills, tools, put whatever word around that is the lens I use, whether I'm just purely working with a coaching engagement
Hmm.
versus a marketing engagement. But I still am trying to surface those pieces because a lot of times people, when we start to do market, I see it. I see how
Hmm.
to position a person and they're like, I don't know if I want to tell that story. Or like,
Yeah.
I had a client, here's an example. I had a very professional acumen, has had a legacy of really good work. And I created a post, right? And you know this as
Hmm.
a ghostwriter. I'm a great ghostwriter. So, right, I created a post and it had something to do around like clients pay me to tell them the truth and I risk getting fired for it, right?
Mm.
Because the people on their team aren't going to say these things to the
Yeah.
CEO
Yep.
that my client comes in. And so I'd written this post. I had, done the content interview, had this
Yep. Yep.
really great post, had it scheduled to go. And he's like, I just want you to know, like, I saw something different come up. I said, who wrote that really crappy AI written post?
Yeah.
And put my stuff, right?
Oops.
I'm
Yeah.
ghostwriting for you. Don't mess with my, but we can talk about it. Don't mess with my process. I said, what happened? Why are you writing? He's like, I've got this big contract out and I didn't want them to see that potentially. And he said, and I know it's my work. Like I need to like face this and start to like recognize that, like, why don't I want to put out the truth? And I'm like, yeah, let's have a coaching conversation about that.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So even though I'm ghostwriting and I'm doing marketing and positioning, there's still a need as we grow. It should feel uncomfortable as
Hmm.
we're growing into the next version of who we are.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I feel like there is so much coaching that goes into I maybe I don't want to say any service providing, but it does feel like a lot of it, like there's that carryover. I never realized how much coaching itself went into the ghostwriting work. Or even when I'm editing a book, at a later end, there's still a lot of coaching in there because I'm saying, I'm looking at someone's process, something that they've done, something they hold dear already, even though the book isn't out there. And I have to be very coaching in that sense of let's work our way through this instead of XY, this is what you need to change, this is what isn't working, and those things. Okay, we can say those things, but you have to do it in a very empathetic way. So it's interesting the crossover there.
For sure. Yeah, it's when we stretch into these new versions of ourselves, it's uncomfortable. And just because I see it and it's so simple to me, I'm like, I see exactly how we can position you here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have another client. He's very attractive. He's a former actor. So I'm like, here's all the lifestyle type of photos I want you to take. And he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that one on the beach, absolutely not. And I was like, really? Because it seems
Yeah.
so simple and
Yeah.
like spot on for me. There is a balance when you are doing the type of work that you and I do in terms of people's personal brand and their digital identity. They do want a confidence that we come across with. Like, I'm confident, I know how I can get you there.
Yeah.
But that gap between what we know is the digital version of them and the current physical version in reality, there's that gap. And so, how do we help them cross that chasm? They're never going to be 100% there. People have to see it and they have to see the response that they start to get from the market. But there is a lot of like, well, let's talk why you're uncomfortable with that. What changed since your headshots or your other photos from your acting days? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, and I think it's always been interesting to me too. I will go to the other questions, but this stuff fascinates me. The amount of imposter syndrome, even people that have had really successful careers, like you said before, they have plenty of acumen. Like they have everything that they to stand on, and they come to me and say, "Ah, Jordan, I don't. Who am I to say this in a book?" And I have to be like, well, here's why, because it's not obvious, and yeah, you really have an understanding. So yeah, it's always been interesting to me a little bit that imposter syndrome can strike everyone, and trying to help people work through that in a way.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Two things come to mind as I hear you say that. I was listening to just happen to have like the radio on in the car
Hmm.
yesterday. And there's this new movement for golfers to bring in caddies. Like there's like apps where you could, I'm not a golfer, but I thought
Me
this was
neither.
fascinating. I thought it was fascinating. I'll make the connection for ghostwriters, personal branding, coaching. And the guy was talking about how there's now all these apps. It's like the Uber of golf caddies, essentially. There you can put on, you can get a caddy for your time on the golf course. And he was explaining how the upper echelon of golfers really like this. And it's not just young kids who are doing these caddies, but on some of these very illustrious courses and
Hmm.
stuff. And the reason why they want a caddy is because they want a person to process with. I think I'm going to do the 9 iron. What do you know about this
Mm.
hole on the course? Talk to me a little bit about the pros and cons of using XYZ. What happens here? And I think in our world, in the marketing, personal branding, ghostwriting, we are that trusted advisor as well. And so being able to bring those things to our client is important. The other part you brought up about imposter syndrome, again, doing a content interview last week, most of my clients that I ghostwrite for are men. And so I was surprised when he brought up an imposter syndrome. I said,
Hmm.
let's pull this out. I want to start telling these stories. I
Hmm.
think you're going to inspire a lot of men to start talking a little bit more about as you're growing where imposter syndrome, he's had great success, but he still faces imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that I think it's good for everyone to hear. That is a very human thing to feel, and it's not based on, at least in my experience, it's not based on success or level of success. It's just a human thought that we have. Who am I to say this? And in some ways, I think it's good. You know, it keeps people humble and it helps people live through those and share those experiences with humility. So I like it when people like at least admit to like struggling with that a little bit, but it shouldn't hold you back either. So it's something to share with a coach or share with someone you're working with and say, I don't know if that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like you said, we're here to support them and talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So thinking about some of your best students ever that you've had, if you can think of certain examples, this would be great. But what was it about them that just made them, oh man, like I've had some too that just like you can't wait to get on a call with them and work with them. And you see so much progress. And then you also know usually that they're going to be able to take off eventually and just kind of soar.
Yeah. When we think about my growth, like over the last 4 years,
Hmm.
I have a real good sense now around the types of clients, especially in the personal branding marketing side, that I can help. So
Hmm.
really strong. They already know how to nurture leads, right?
Yeah.
They are actively, LinkedIn is my platform of choice where I do most of my work and I can get the most traction. So they know how to get in, nurture leads, create genuine, authentic conversations that turn into opportunities. They have a sales process, like they understand discovery call, sales process. They know, what their offer is. They know how they're enrolling clients. They have a sense of how they're bringing clients in, what the
Hmm.
experience is. That's the one side of like really strong clients that I can build a very strong brand identity around. And then the other side, when it's like the coaching container, the intuitive transformational piece, typically on that side, it's someone who is highly creative, highly empathic, highly sensitive, and is being not recognized in their current wherever their current space is. So whether
Hmm.
it's the job that they're in or the type of work they're doing, they're not actually able to regulate their nervous system in a way that allows them to do creative output, get in flow states, high level creative work. Those are kind of the two. I have made a lot of mistakes
Hmm.
in taking on clients that I thought, oh, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be great. And then I'm like 6 months, just 6 weeks in, 8 weeks, and I'm like, oh God, this is not a fit. There's something here. I'm stressed out all the time because they're stressed out all the time. So that took a while for me to figure out who the best clients to work with are for me.
Yeah, and how have you navigated it when you have worked with someone that you got to that point you're like, oh, this is a struggle. Like, is it just kind of a move on situation, or have you been able to help them, or is it normally a referral? What does it look like when something's just not working out?
Yeah, open, honest communication, right? Like
Yeah.
something here feels off. My body always tells me first. So, for
Yeah.
example, I'll have a couple calls and I just feel unsettled. And I know I'm
Yeah.
coming in clear and open and available. And then I
Yeah.
walk away from the call and my stomach's a little unsettled. I'm feeling a little discombobulated. And so that's a clue that
Yeah.
my mind hasn't caught up to it yet. I just can sense and feel in my body something feels off. And then not being afraid to call it out, have a conversation. And if from there it continues, I'm going to end the engagement. I just did this a couple weeks ago. I'm making a choice to end the engagement. It's not personal. I really, actually, really, really like the person.
Yeah.
I just, we're not able to find our sync and get into alignment and get to flow state. So that's, if I can't get there with you, we're not going to get the results that you're hoping for.
Yeah, and that's super helpful because I was asked this question because what I'm most curious about and I'm really talking about on this podcast a lot is this area of coachability. And is it something we can help our students with, or is it something that yeah, of course, sometimes some people aren't gonna it's just not gonna work out. It's not gonna be a good fit on either end. But what I'm most curious is if it's something that maybe you've worked with people through or have had to do that because it's just something I'm curious about. It's part of the thesis of the podcast and the eventual book. Is this something we can help build in people, or is it something more intrinsic and something natural that people either have or they don't? So curious what your experience with that has been.
When you say, it's interesting because I hadn't thought of it. I do sense that this person that I let go was not coachable.
Hmm.
And so when you say, like I heard you say, are there just people who aren't coachable or
Yeah.
aren't coachable to the level at which I operate that I'm looking for? Like,
Yeah.
what are those mile markers? And are they going to do it's the inner, inside out, it's the inner work. Are you going to do the inner work?
Yeah.
When you say students, do you have a group? Do you have a class? Like, what do you mean when you use the word students?
I mean like coachy person you're working with.
Clients.
Yeah,
Yeah,
clients. Yeah,
students, clients.
clients.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using that all and interchangeably.
Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to double check because I
Yeah.
was an educator. My first
Yeah. Okay.
career was spent wasn't in the classroom very long. I went into leadership right away, but I did
Okay.
work with a lot of students. I've worked with a lot of people over the lifetime of my career.
Yeah.
And I do agree, there are just people who come in with walls up or with
Yeah.
an inability to access. So when I have a sense of that, I poke around, I ask a lot of
Hmm.
questions. Where do you sense it in your body? Where do you, and seeing like how deep can you go? And then kind of suss that out to see if it's a good fit. But at the end of the day, we learn as we go and grow together. I mean, that's a good ghostwriter, a good partner, a good coach. We're going to grow together. I'm going to learn and grow as well. And so I'm always looking for, can we grow together? Will this add to my repertoire of experiences by bringing this person in? And can I get success? Can I help them get the success
Yeah.
I'm looking for?
And I feel like that question is why, like, the longer we as coaches do this, then the fewer stories we have, right, of people that we just can't help and just doesn't work, because we're trying to we're sussing that out kind of from the beginning. Are you someone I can help?
Yeah.
Like, potentially, you don't always know, of course, but on a discovery call, you can get some red flags, orange flags, even beige flags, and question:
Yeah.
are you going to be someone that is going to be able to do the inner work? Are you going to do the work at all? Because yeah, when you're coming onto this, it's not just especially in a coaching relationship, especially, it's not just here, I'm going to give you some tasks and I'm going to do things for you. It is that inner work. It is that inside out, and you have to be open to that. But that's why I like asking this question, because it's just interesting to think about, especially like the early on, if there were anything specific. Oh, I wish I would have seen that, or I miss that, and this relationship just didn't turn out because, yeah, it's always interesting to me to ask that.
Yeah, I just recently on the transformational intuitive coaching side, right?
Hmm.
Not really a whole anything really with marketing. I have a questionnaire that after they see the offer, so we have some sort of a conversation
Hmm.
that says like, I need some help. I have the offer doc. And then the next step before we even will talk about cost or before I'll talk about any of that stuff is a questionnaire. And
Mm.
how they answer the questionnaire, if they answer the questionnaire, I'm not going to chase people. That will tell me a lot. And that way I get a sense of what their answers look like, how thoughtful they are around
Hmm.
things. That's been a game changer.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I think that's something I could even work into what I do, because it does have that, right. It's like the initial buy-in of even a little bit of time, because I can imagine some people coming in, oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, you don't want to do this, then you're not going to want to do the rest of, you're not going to want to do the rest of the work. Like, it's going to be a little bit more complicated than just that survey or whatever. So yeah, I think that's I really like that idea, as far as yeah, maybe buy-in, but also building that relationship from the beginning.
Exactly. Exactly. And setting the expectation of the type of questions and how we think about how we're going to engage
Yeah.
together and the things that you need to be able to clarify and pull forward.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what, if any, are areas that you've been coached in yourself? And then the tie into that, how has that helped you to become a better coach in your business, with
That's a
either
great
the marketing or the intuitive coaching?
That's a great question. Yeah, I have been working with the same coach for almost 5 years, and he is the inspiration for me going back because I had in my first career in education, we use a lot of coaching models for
Hmm.
teachers and instruction and administrators. Like, that's really a part of that system because think about it, people don't really leave education. So the only way to help people grow is a coaching model. So it made a lot of sense. And when I left education and I left a 20-year career, I was like, how do I leave this executive nonprofit role and go into like building my own business and creating my own thing? So I met this coach on LinkedIn and started working with him. And when I started with him, I was like, this is really good. I don't have these skills. I've learned a
Yeah.
lot, but like I don't have that.
Hmm.
So through working with him and then saying like, where did you get your coaching credential, which was through Erickson's solution focused coaching, I also then signed up for my own, like, let me take the training you've taken. And that I'm a very like meta, like I want to be in the process, but I also want to understand the process
Hmm.
as I'm
Hmm.
in it. And so that really helped me having another person who's literally very clear, clean mirror, I'd walk away from those sessions and like, Stacey, there's only one person you can point to of why this pattern keeps happening in your life. At the end of the day, it's not that all of my challenges have been about relationships, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everything I have faced that has been really hard in my life. Running marathon, easy. It was a decision I made for myself and I had to put in the work.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
else was involved. But like,
There's no excuse, right? I'm doing this.
it's me or it's me,
Yeah.
right? And I'm either going to do it or I'm not.
Yeah.
But like client relationships, business potential partnerships. I tried with so many people to have business partnerships. Nothing ever worked out.
Hmm.
Why? Because I had unhealthy attachment. I had anxious attachment. And the only way I really figured that out was by sitting and doing the work with a coach. So that was transformational for me.
Yeah, and it's so I mean it makes sense, but it's good to hear in terms of, and I think this is good for the people listening to this podcast to hear is if you are in a coaching business, it's smart to have your own coaching in whatever area. It doesn't have to be necessarily business coaching where that's great, but it can be in the areas where you already know you need some help. And if you don't think you need any help, then there's probably some blind spots there, right, that you could improve. And maybe you need a coach. I just talked to another podcast guest about blind spots and about seeking that feedback. And I think it's very important for coaches to be aware of our blind spots, especially because we're trying to help our students, coaches, people we're trying to help with that. We're trying to help them. Not always, but there are those moments where, oh, I don't think they're seeing this. I need to try to help them navigate through this. In my experience, it's easier to be empathetic in those ways. It's easier to have those conversations if you've also been through it yourself because you can see it from both sides, right?
For sure. And I've gone back to a video from 4 years ago of a coaching session of
Mm-hmm.
myself. And I'm like, amazing. Wow. Look at the
Yeah.
lack of clarity I had and the clarity I have now. Right. So those are always really good touch points. Can one coach themselves? Of course. But to your point, having somebody being like, maybe you want to reframe that, or I heard you say you need to. Let's talk about what's underneath that need. Why do you feel
Yeah.
there's a need there? Whatever the question might be.
And this question I'm curious for, and I'm curious if there's an answer, if there's a different answer for both sides of what you do for coaching. But are there qualities that you see the people, the really successful, the people that do the work, are there qualities that you see that help them? And so that's first question, part of the question. And does it differ? Do those qualities differ for both sides of what you do?
Ooh, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. What are the qualities on both sides? Well, I would say on the branding and the marketing piece, the more clarity a person has on who they are, what their business is, the types of people they want to work with, and how they do it, right? Like their process, those pieces, the clarity piece,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I would spend time, again, going back to like client selection and bringing in people. And it's expensive. Marketing, branding, ghostwriting, like that's expensive work. That is
Yep.
creative output. That's hard work for me. And so I've taken on clients that weren't ready yet. They didn't have the clarity around. One week I come in, I'm going to coach young people. The next week, I've changed my mind. I'm going to coach healthcare executives. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
just positioned all your stuff. And I wrote, made your content pillars, and we've got a lot of content, and it's okay to change, but
Yeah.
wow. So on that side, I prefer individuals who have a level already of you've gotten some reps in. You've done, 100 coaching hours with clients. You have a sense of who you're working with, where your sweet spot is, the moves you make that really move the needle for your clients. On the other side, I've got some other associates that I work with. And so we do two different kind of support wraparound mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot of nervous system regulation. So I have a somatic breath work coach that does some experiences there. And then I have another person who does some inner world journaling. So it's not just me, but there's an entire case management team helping you move through your process. So that's really about being very open, being very vulnerable, and being really like recognizing my nervous system is out of regulation. And I want to be able to work to figure out what does it mean for me to have a regulated nervous system. Having at least some awareness of that, or awareness of like, I really don't know where in my body, how to identify when feelings come through, those types of things.
Yeah. And I just want to call that out for anyone that's listening to this podcast, because as you were saying it, I was thinking about, wow, Stacey has a lot of clarity on both areas. And I think there's so much that coaches can benefit from being able to answer that question as clearly as you did, and thinking of it very clearly, and who, like, not just who I want to work with, but that even what qualities they possess. Because yeah, as you were sharing that, I was like, I think I could put part of that into what I do. Like, okay, maybe I'd rearrange that. So I just wanted to call it out. The people listening to this, I think, go back if you missed it and really listen to what you said about clarity, and really think about, okay, how would I answer that for my own? I think that could be a really good exercise for people to do.
And let me say the spot around the intuitive transformational coaching, and that's something I've dabbled in. I've given away a ton of that for free. Friends, family, colleagues, could you meet with somebody? Could you whatever? I've not necessarily really placed a monetary exchange until I started working with a client and building their personal professional brand for coaches, and recognized I was undervaluing myself. I was giving away all of this work that I had done through my own blood, sweat, and tears, essentially, to get to this really healthy place. And by not charging, which is a big thing that a lot of people who are just doing coaching, when they start out, they don't charge, or they undervalue themselves.
Yeah.
And it really undervalues the work. The monetary exchange, let me just, like, for those of your listeners listening around, like, how do I charge people $2,000 a month, $10,000 a month for a transformational coaching experience? You do, because the buy-in is what then also moves the inner work faster and quicker. And I missed that for a long time, and then wondered why my clients, I was giving stuff away, or why they weren't really getting the transformational experiences, because I didn't create a really good container around it.
Yeah. And I think I completely agree with you on the pricing. And I think there's so much that I've seen a lot of coaches do that, undervalue themselves. And yeah, charge what you're worth, because when your people are coming to you, not that they want to spend like tons of money, that's not the point, but sometimes they need that buy-in, they need that commitment. Okay, I'm doing this.
Yes.
If it's a book coach with me, I'm finally going to write my book. I'm not just going to think about it as I've been doing for the past 3 or 4 years, as happens a lot of times. I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm ready to go. And if I charged $200 for that, $1,000, what commitment is that? No, my pricing model is based on the value and the commitment. It's not just based on my hourly. That's a deep subject. There's a lot to consider, but I think coaches definitely need to hear it, especially when they're starting out. Because I think, as you said, like, they come in, oh, okay, I need to charge like just a little bit to get my feet in the door, and then I'll jump up to there. If you start here, very difficult to jump up to here.
Exactly.
At least in my experience. Yep. Start higher than you would think.
That's right. Exactly.
Yep. Maybe that's all. Maybe it's not a whole podcast. Maybe that's all we need to say about it.
That's that.
I mean, we got it. I mean, we're done. Okay.
And deliver results. I'll give another example. My niece, I was hosting like just a virtual friends and family. Because when I try new things, like any of us, I'm a creator, I'm a intuitive. I want to try new experiences for my offers and what can I do with clients. So I test out with family and friends. And my niece called me and she said her boyfriend was struggling with a test. I was offering a breath work session, right?
Mhm.
I really love breath work. It moves energy quickly, it brings clarity really quickly.
Mhm.
But I like to think of the breath work that I teach and do, like the Orange Theory Fitness, like it's a hit workout, but you're just laying still and you're doing the somatic breath work, but it's intense. And
Yep.
he
Yep.
said he's failed he's doing something with like a firefighter test or something.
Okay.
She's like, if he comes, will he pass the test? And I don't, honestly, I don't know where this came. I said, absolutely, tell him to come, he'll pass. And I'm not typically like that, like boom. And I said,
Yeah.
tell him to come, he'll pass the test, right? Well, just it literally spontaneously kind of came out. And I was like, damn, who was that? Like,
Yeah. Who said
crazy.
that? Yeah.
Oh, all right. And then I didn't even let myself get into the what if, why did, I just let it kind of be what it was. He came to the session, it was virtual, whatever, and I forgot about it. And I saw
Yeah.
him, and I did, and I forgot about it, right? Like he did the whatever. And I saw him last Friday. He said, I meant to tell you, I passed my test. And I'm like, of course you did.
Of course you did. I knew.
I knew it. Of course you did. Be confident in the results that
Yeah.
you deliver and that you have something that, I know the inner work I've done that cost me a ton, that you will help others usher through for themselves.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Never undervalue it. And yeah,
Exactly.
100%. Okay. Stacey, a question I like to ask: what has been your most successful strategy for growing your coaching business?
Mm.
Maybe that is like a marketing question, but just curious what has worked for you.
I've tried I'm not afraid to try
Yeah.
things
Yep.
and experiment. I've hired people, I've done my own stuff. So for me, I am very much an experiential learner. And I think coaching is a unique, like what separates you, especially in the coaching field, which is very, especially if you're doing digital, is very noisy. And if you want to build your own thing, like you don't want to go work for a better up or, you don't want to be on a inside of an organization, but you're really
Yeah.
trying to build your own thing. I've tried everything from doing a ton of one-on-ones to different lead gen around a group experience. So finding what works for you, I'm constantly iterating. So right now, I'm not doing any one-on-ones. I bring people in to a group experience. And then from the group experience, I have kind of one of two ways in which we may go or not. Along with building, I built a pretty nice LinkedIn following
Hmm.
presence, my own brand that I'm continually refining. Don't be afraid to rebrand, to redefine as you learn and grow more, especially in the first 5 to 7 years. You don't know what you have until you have it. So don't be afraid to try different things and find what works for you.
Yeah. And I would say so yes, 100% agree with that. And I think one great point you had is don't be afraid to, or you started talking about this, don't be afraid to change, but also don't be afraid to add new things to what you do. Because one of my fears, not really fear, when I started doing this podcast, I was like, okay, but I'm already saying I'm a ghostwriter. I'm already saying I'm a book coach. Can I also say that I do a podcast? Of course, it's part of me and part of what I'm doing. It doesn't mean it's in the exact same area, but it also is still me. So it's
Yes.
fine to share that, and it's fine to experiment with that too.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
not everything has to tie in a perfect little bow. That's not, to me, that's not what branding is. But yeah, you want people to have that expectation, but it doesn't mean you have to just be the one thing that you said you were forever because we change.
We change. And I'm very much, I have a really nice network. So when I get on a call with somebody or when something comes through, I'm very much a give value first and
Hmm.
then see if there's something here. And so many times it's like, who you really need to talk to? You need to talk to that person. Have a call with them. I feel like they can help you more, right? I'm not afraid to like push, not put, but give people away to other people so
Yeah.
that the right people that I really want to work with that are super, aligned that I feel like would be a really good case study or whatever part for
Hmm.
those people come to me as opposed to grasping on to people who might not be the best fit.
Yeah. No, I think that makes so much sense. Okay, so we're coming up to the last couple questions, but I always like to ask this last one because I want to make sure the people that come on this podcast get to say what they want to say about the content, about the subject, about what we're talking about. So, do you have a soapbox? And if you do, feel free to stand on it and talk to us about it.
Oh, wow. Do I have a soapbox? um, my soapbox is this, that we're not guaranteed that we're going to get this moment again.
Mm,
And people spend a lot of time in the past or in the future.
yeah.
And the work to become really present, really still, really calm, really connected is the best work that you can do for yourselves. And so, whether that's through somatic practices, meditation, working with a coach, therapy, whatever that is for you,
Reading
again,
the book
making
you
sure
mentioned in the beginning.
reading the book, The Precious Present. I'm reading a book right now. I'm actually doing a book study with my VA team. It's called The Power of Unwavering Focus by Don Depani, something like that. And that's what to remember. Have nothing left unsaid. I'm currently kind of struggling with something. No, I love my dad, right? My parents are real close. I have a close family of 15, but there's just some things I know could be better. And he's still alive and he's still capable to engage with me, but I'm not really sure how to do it. But like, I don't want him to pass or me to pass. And then, oh, gosh, I wish I would have said the thing. Like, say
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing. Tell the people you love them. Really trust that what's meant for you will come to you. That would be my soapbox if I had one.
Yeah, and I love it. I'll stand right on it with you because I totally agree. And I think sometimes we hold back because we're like, okay, I don't want to be sappy, especially me as a guy with other guys. I don't want to I don't want them to think like I'm weak or anything, right? Like those thoughts have come in, but it's like, no, like just text them and say, hey, I love you, man. And that
Yeah,
is okay to
it's
say.
okay. It's
And
more than
they
okay.
appreciate it. Like it's a good thing. And yeah,
Yes.
maybe they'll give me a little bit of shit, and that's okay. I
Yeah.
expect that. But like exactly what you said, I don't want it to be left unsaid that I care and appreciate the person. So I think there's so much value in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing I would say is don't be afraid of your emotions. We live in
Hmm.
a culture that hasn't really, the new generations are, the next generations are having a greater understanding of how emotions work and stuff versus
Hmm.
Gen Xers like I was. But don't be afraid to feel them. I cry. I used to feel so embarrassed. What's wrong with me? I'm an empath. Like it's
Hmm.
okay. The feelings come first and then they make sense later. So you're like that, let it be. Trust that. It's a really powerful gift when you start to embrace that.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a great place to end. Where can people find you, Stacey? And do you have anything else you want to share? Any offerings or anything that, yeah,
Yeah.
feel free to share it.
If this energy felt aligned, please reach out to me. My website is unlockmycoach.com, and I mostly create content on LinkedIn under Stacey Gonzales. And yeah, here to be a resource and a support in any way I can.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to add those links. And thank you so much for your time, Stacey. This has been an awesome episode. I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Are you still here listening to this podcast? You're awesome. I got two CTAs for you. Number one, subscribe to this podcast for more. And number two, have you ever thought about writing a book? Contact Jordan. He can help you out. Jordan at jamring.com.